Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my ceiling. Let's have some fun today. And if you can't tell, this is going to be not your average Wood by Wright video. We're going to have a little bit of fun playing with electrons. Ooh. So there's a story to this. I was down at Workbench Con in Atlanta, Georgia, and Rustic Lumber was there showing off their wares. And if you don't know, they have a really cool finish. It's the same one I put on this. It's kind of like Rubio, but far more affordable. So I've been having fun playing with that. But he was doing a raffle for this for charity. And so if everyone gave money to the charity, then they would be put in for a raffle on this slab. And I won, yay, great. But the problem is, what am I gonna do with this slab? My initial thought was, I'll fill it with epoxy. Ooh, I'll make a table. Yeah, it's been done 100 times before and I don't need to do that again. So in this time, I decided I was going to do it as an art piece. We were gonna stand it up in a corner and do something like that. But then my wife suggested that, what if we turned it into a chandelier? I thought, you know, that's kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a chandelier quite like that before. So we want to do that, but I have a smart home and a lot of electronics and wiring and LEDs and things like that. I thought this would be a great chance to collaborate with another channel. So I gave Becky Stern a call.
You have any interest in this?
That Burl is incredible. Yeah, I'd love to put some LEDs on that.
And she graciously answered.
Okay, let's do it.
If you haven't seen her channel, she does some really cool things with LEDs and putting them in clothing and puts them in interesting ways and makes them controllable. And I absolutely love what she does. Anytime she puts out a video, I watch it. But she was the one who designed the LED on this, not only to light up and actually give the room some light, but to put these pendants hanging down. And the pendants have lights pointing up to illuminate the slab, as well as illuminating the room. And I really, really love how this came out and having them all staggered. And she did an amazing job on this. So if you want to see her video actually going through and wiring this and figuring out how it all comes together, I'll leave links to that down below. She went through a few interesting problems to make this happen and really pulled out all the stops for it. So I want to say a huge thank you for that. And definitely go take a look at her channel. But let's actually dive into what I did for this and integrating her system into the slab. So for those of you wanting to know, this is a Mappa burl and it grows in wild grain and just an absolute beautiful. And at this point, I'm really looking forward to putting some oil on this and seeing it pop out. This is actually one that Rustic Lumber sells. They harvest and supply these. And so if you ever want to see one, take a look at them. I'll leave a link to them down below as well. But it is one of these things where you're going to be planing it, you're always going to be going against the grain. It doesn't matter which direction you go because the grain is going in all directions at once. And so I need to take this and smooth it down so that I can actually finish it. And most of the outside had actually been sandblasted to remove the bark. And a lot of that sandblasting had gotten up onto the surface, so we need to do a little bit more. Now, normally I would run this through a thickness planer or a belt sander, and I don't have that. And I'm actually going to plane this down. Most of it I'm going to do with my number 4, and I had to set it up really, really finely. If you haven't seen how to set up a number 4 for difficult grain, I'll have a couple videos. I'll try and leave links to those down below. But you really need to set it up with a very light shaving, get the chip breaker close, tighten up the mouth, and do that, and you're really going to be able to get this very well without getting too much in there. Now, the other answer is I could come at it with sandpaper and just do an orbital sander and take it down slowly, but I don't like doing that. For the outside on this, I really needed to work in and get rid of the sandblasting texture on it. I did a test section seeing how that actually absorbed the oil, and it absorbed it a little bit too much. And I wanted to smooth it down just a little bit. And so I came in with a fairly coarse sandpaper to do most of it, and then I finished up at a 220. But this took forever, getting into all those little nooks and crannies. I have a whole bunch of these orbital sanding discs that I bought a long time ago at an estate sale, and the guy was selling a box of probably 400 or 500 of them for $5. So for the last few years, all of my sandpaper has been orbital sanding discs, and this took forever, working at it little bit by little bit. I was originally planning on putting tracks in for the LED, but then I realized that I don't want to house it in there. I want it to just sit on top. So there wasn't too much joinery that had to be done on this. And so after smoothing it, it's basically ready for finish. There isn't too much to this project other than the little things we'll do after the finish. For the finish, I'm actually going to be using this from Rustic Lumber. It has become my go-to hard wax. Relatively affordable and really, really good stuff. One coat does well and it's fairly protective. I really, really like it for this where it soaks in. I want that BLO finish in there. It gives me that color and that warmth that you would expect to get from that oil, but then seals it off and helps it protect against the dust and makes it fairly easy to clean off. And in particular on this slab, dust is going to be a fun bit of pain, but having this on there allows it to be a little bit smoother. So we're going to wipe that in, and you just let it soak in the wood and let it take up as much as it wants, and then you come back in and polish off the rest. For the main surface, it went on pretty easily. There were some voids and things that it soaked down into a little bit more, and so I had to be careful of those. But the difficult part was actually coming in around the outside and getting it to soak in all the little nooks and crannies. This is normally a pretty quick step. If you're doing this on a flat tabletop, it goes on very, very fast and doesn't take much time at all. But for this one, it took a long time. I probably spent about 45 minutes getting the oil on this, and I'd go back and take some off. And I love how the color pops out, and you can see the chatoyancy in it coming around from all different directions. But then, of course, there's all of these tiny little crannies and nooks and voids that have to be gotten into. The other problem is you don't want it to sit on too long and start setting up. So once you've done an area, you can come back in and wipe off the excess. And I'm going to use a flat rag to take off the majority of the excess, and then I'm going to come back through and polish it down in a bit more, get rid of anything that's still sticking on there. And it becomes dry to the touch within a couple hours, and usually within 24 hours it's ready to go. It's very, very quick and simple process. And I ended up using a lot more oil on this than I would normally use on a project because it just had so many little nooks and crannies for it to soak into. And it was easier to soak the surface in it and then take off the rest. And thankfully, I'm glad that the finish was a little bit more affordable so that I could actually just let it drip in there. Because if you've ever done this with like Rubio Monocoat or some of the others, then you know it'd be a very expensive process. But I really like how this came out. It's honestly become my go-to furniture finish. Right now it's the one that I use more than any other. And I really like how it comes out. Especially, you can really see the color in this. So I'm talking a bit too much about the finish, but if you can't tell, I really like how this is coming out. Next, though, is the fun part. We're actually going to get into the electronics. So I sent over pictures and scaled them, and Becky was actually able to design this whole sheet that she could work on her desk and make it life-size for her and then lay them all out. And then when it was done, she could actually roll it up and ship it to me. And it worked out very, very well. We were expecting to see some of the solder joints come out and other things break during shipping, and it didn't. It actually... it was a fantastic job, and she did very good on it. She has all of the LEDs individually addressed, so you can do all sorts of fun features. Yes, this is foot powered.
But all that being said, we do need to attach this down. I said earlier I was planning on recessing this all into the slab, but then I realized that's going to have directional issues with the LEDs. But having the wires out here, I decided to actually use a little bit of hot glue and apply them down. Now, yes, my hot glue is black. I have a void-filling hot glue stick that I'll use. But in this case, it worked out very, very well to apply down all of the wires. And it was easy enough to break off with the finish, so if I didn't like where it was at, I could snap it off and reapply it. And it allowed me to have a little bit of flexibility to it. It also allowed me to attach down all of the wires so that they weren't running all over the place. And yes, this is one of those tasks where there are going to be a lot of wires. And if you want to see more on all these LEDs, Becky goes into a lot more detail on her channel and talks through her choices and the programming and other things like that. The power supply cable was actually a fairly long cable, and I wanted to try and make all the cables disappear on top of this, so I'm trying to organize them and run them in lines together. And in this case, the cable needed to be a little bit smaller, so we're going to solder these together and make the cable connection smaller and more organized so that it doesn't wind all over the place. So for this power supply, it actually needs to be pretty heavy because we have a lot of LEDs on this. If you look on the strip lights, there's one every half inch, 3/4 inch or so. And that means that it actually takes a decent amount of power, which ended up being a little bit of a problem later on. You can see there's a connector on the board here, and that connector was giving us problems. So Becky goes into that a lot more on her channel, and it let loose the magic smoke as it came out. So yes, we can solder these in here. And then we can individually wrap them and then cover them in shrink wrap. And yes, soldering is not my specialty, but I've done it enough to know that it's going to be a pain. Thankfully, I didn't have to do all the little ones Becky did, but with the shrink wrap, it actually comes up and cleans up fairly nicely. And yes, of course, the more power you put on it, the better the shrink wrap. And this gave me a small cord that we could then plug directly into the board, and that's where the problems started. That little thing right there. The first time we hooked it up ran great. Everything was exactly where we want it to be. And then came back about 15 minutes later, and my wife said, "Hey, is that supposed to be smoking?" And apparently that small port actually caused some problems. And no, it wasn't the hot glue. Actually, Becky went back and tested with another one. It didn't have a listed load rating, but we just assumed and didn't think too much of it because they're LEDs. I did end up having to break one solder point in order to wire these around, so I had to come back in and solder that one connection, and then I had to cut a couple wires, so we want to make sure we get good connection on all of those. Becky did a fantastic job about making sure that everything was in there. I just had to change a few things at the last minute. And all the pendants actually have these little plugs that they would go into, and of course once we got it all set in on the bench, we had to run a test. And look at that, the whole thing lights up. And I was really excited at this point. You can see all of the pendants that are still in their protective bags, and everything comes in here, and I was flabbergasted. Now we want to have these pendants come down through the slab, so we need to drill some holes. And I needed to measure how big the connector was. Ended up, we could drill a 1/4-inch hole, and I was thinking, oh no, we're going to see that 1/4-inch hole, and then realized, actually, we couldn't find the hole after we drilled it because there were just so many holes in the burl. It became a very, very difficult thing. So the 1/4-inch holes just disappear in this, and I absolutely love that. It's one of those surprise things that we weren't expecting, but it worked out very well. So we have 6 pendants. We need to drill 6 holes for these to come down through. We weren't sure exactly how far we wanted the pendants to hang, and we weren't sure how far we wanted the slab to hang. So we have the holes in there, we could go back and forth, and then when I got it exactly what I want, we could put in a little bit of hot glue to hold them in place. As a temporary, we just put in some tape to hold them and see what they looked like. But we'll be covering that when we actually get to the installation. So once we have all 6 holes drilled through, then we can start stringing this and wiring it, and then trying to figure out how are we going to hang this. And I was originally trying to figure out, yeah, this is not terribly light. It's not incredibly heavy, though, but the whole thing is around 30 pounds. So I want this to be secure as it'll be over our family's head. And if you know me, I like to go overboard. The other thing I wanted to be able to balance it and move it up and down. So my original thought was to put it on 2 turnbuckles. But the problem with that is the slab has a split in one end, and that meant I couldn't put a single turnbuckle on one side. So I ended up needing to have 3, and then I couldn't put a third one because of the way my ceiling was. So we ended up actually putting in 4 turnbuckles, 1 in each corner. So I'm going to start by drilling the hole where I want the turnbuckle to go, not all the way through, just down a little ways so that we can put in an eye screw. And then we can run the eye screw down in there. And I'm going way overkill. I ended up actually coming back and putting in a different eye screw that was a little smaller. My tendency is to make things far stronger than they need to be. And once I have the turnbuckle in, it lets me know exactly what the height is. I am planning on coming back in later and replacing them with a simple cable. An 1/8-inch cable should work perfect on this. But since I have the eye screws in the ceiling and in the slab, it should be easy to run the cable between them. But having the turnbuckle in allows me to slightly adjust them and lower and raise the whole thing. I have about 3 inches of movement up and down so that I can balance it. The problem was I needed to space these to actually hit the rafters so that they're not just hanging on the drywall itself. And it actually became a little bit difficult on the slab because at some points the slab was a little bit thin, so I had to pick my mounting locations very carefully. And so this took a little longer than I expected. I was expecting this just to be, let's drill 4 holes and hang the thing. And I am spending about a good 45 minutes to an hour actually doing the calculations and figuring out and going back and forth between upstairs and finding the joists. And yeah, lots of fun. Speaking of joists, when you get up there, you're trying to find them. The natural thought is you grab a stud finder. But I've found that magnets actually work far better. They stick onto the nail or screw underneath the drywall and let you know exactly where it is. So I found those locations and then put up the eye screws. And then we can actually just go and hang it. I put a quick connect on either end so that it will slide up on there. and had my son hold the other end while I can get it in place. And this went very quickly. I was fearful of how to hold this up and how to get it going. But once you have 2 in there, it's holding itself, and then the third and fourth are just there to level it out. So I really don't have much of any weight on these, and they are way stronger than they need to be. But I guess that's how I end up working. For the cord, we used to have a ceiling fan here, and I never much liked it in the living room. So we have the ceiling fan mount location, and I put a cap on there. So we can just drill a hole through the cap and wire that directly into where the ceiling fan was before. So for the pendants, we need to slide those up through the hole, and then they connect into the little connector that Becky supplied. Fairly quick and easy, and they just hang from that wire. We were going back and forth on a couple different designs, and the simple wire actually works out very, very well, and I like how they came out. So to start with, we're actually just going to tape these in place. The wire goes up through into the connector, and I put a piece of tape on there and allowed me to adjust these back and forth. Originally, we were planning on having the pendants all at the same height, but having such an organic slab, it just did not look right. So we ended up adjusting them all to different heights, and they're all within about 8 inches of each other, and that made the aesthetic just pop on it. And so everything up here is temporary to begin with just pieces of tape holding in place. And then once we got where we wanted, I came in with a hot glue gun and tacked it all down and put everything in nice and tight. Tried to make the cords as straight and clean as they could be. And I was very, very happy with how this came out in the end. And you really can't see much of anything from down on the floor just about anywhere in the room. There's 1 or 2 cables that poke through a hole that you can kind of poke out. But other than that, it's very, very clean from the floor side. So once we get this all put in, the first thing is let's turn it on. And yeah, I'm very, very happy with how this turns on, because it just makes the room, and it's one of those things that is very, very surprising to me. I did not expect to like it quite this much, but I am in love with it. And yes, it is all connected to the home smart system, and so it can do wild and funky things.
So there you have it. Slab chandelier. I really, really like this. I'm probably going to do a few other things to it. I'm going to replace the turnbuckles with thin cable now that I know exactly where I want it. Wasn't sure if I wanted it down a little bit or up a little bit more. And so replacing those with cables might make it a little bit more artistic. But I like how it's just a center point to this room. And I am absolutely in love with it. So anytime you have a weird slab and you immediately think epoxy, now maybe you should think chandelier, because I really like how this came out. Now, definitely go take a look at Rustic Lumber. They're the ones who actually gave me this slab, or I won it in a raffle. And I'll leave links to them down below, as well as Becky Stern doing all of the LEDs. I'll leave a link to all of her stuff down there. She is doing some really, really cool stuff over there, so definitely take a look at that. But on top of all that, I do want to say a huge thank you to all the patrons on Patreon, people who like, comment, share, subscribe, and all those things. You know how that goes. Really, it does mean a lot. So anytime you do that, it helps out the channel. And everyone scrolling over on the side, thank you. You are the patrons who make this happen. Without patrons on Patreon, we would not exist. So if you want to find out more about that, then click the links down below. You know where all that's at. I think that'll do it for now. And until next time, have a wonderful day. Perfect timing.
It's like, oh, we finish as soon as
Should I leave that as the joke at the end? I really like how this project came out. You could say I was delighted. Sneeze.